Hey, welcome everybody. I'm doing a demonstration on palm wood turning, and so we got lots of palm trees that grow around here. There's a few that have different colored fibers in it. Most of them are just kind of this light tan colored inside. The center of most of them are very fibrous and about worthless. There was some wood turner in the AEW magazine years ago. I believe he did live in Florida, and he would turn the soft stuff, just kind of cone shape, and hollow them out. And then he did something for them, to them, and the fibers cut on that angle, they would pop out and be like little sharp things. And he dyed them all different colors. They look pretty cool. But we have 4 different kind of palm trees that work here. A little high. There are 4 that grow here that have black fibers around the edge of the tree. Alexander palm, also known as solitaire, right outside this door, there's a whole bunch of them. They only get about that big around and grow like 30 feet tall. The Carpentaria palm, which my shoe spoon is made out of. They get about, I don't know, 8, 9 inches, 10 inches at the base. They grow about 50 feet tall. And the color on those goes in a lot farther than on these Alexanders. Blue Lantana, they are about that big around, and they get probably 30 feet tall. And they have a great big silver roundish leaf, kind of silver color where the ends bend over. And Bismarck, which looks almost exactly like the Blue Lantana, only it's bigger. The trees get like that big. And those have a whole lot of dark fibers in them. And I've been wanting to get one of those for years and years and years. And I saw one where the top died, and I stopped, knocked on the door, and the guy goes, "Oh yeah, we're going to cut that down in April." And this was like December. And I go, "Great. Here's my phone number, call me." And when I drove by in February, it was gone. And I saw it at the stump, and it was just peppered with these black dots and the lighter colored wood. I wish I would have been able to get some of that. But we have 2 that have burgundy color fibers, which is queen palm and royal palm. There's some big ones out here. Usually the color on those is about like that Alexander palm. You may have on a tree 20 inches in diameter, you may have 3/4 inch of the burgundy going around the edge. Then it starts getting very sparse, and the center, this stuff is just soft and mush. But if you're getting the base of the tree, if it's a tall tree, it's usually pretty solid. Now coconut palm, sable palm, which is also a cabbage palm, you can turn those too. They're solid, but they're all that center beigey color. There's the different fibers in, and you can see them, but to me it's boring because it's all one color. Now, did you ever make a piece with sable?
Huh?
Did you make some pieces with sable palm?
Oh yeah, every piece I made was sable palm except one piece with coconut palm.
Yeah, and the color's the same, and I've seen some sable palm, and they just leave a little band of the barkish layer around a hollow vessel. That looks pretty cool. And it's solid enough and strong enough to turn, but I want the color variation. Now you can buy black palm, which is, you can get some pretty good sized chunks of it, but the black is black. This is Alexander, a lot more of the lighter color. The black palm is really dark, and I don't care for it, because I like to be able to see the different colors and things in there. And you can buy red palm also, which looks just like the queen or the royal palm. That's what this is. This is a slice that is just a leftover piece off of one like that, and I just thought the pattern was cool in there. I haven't figured out what to do with that. I thought like one of the flat finial things like Jerry does on some of his beautiful hollow vessels. It might look kind of cool up there, or something with it. But it's But the lighter color is pretty soft and flaky.
In the winter, do the palms wear mittens?
Some do. Only the ones with Christmas lights. Yes, sir.
How do you dry? How do you dry the pump?
When I get one cut, like the trees outside here are like 18, 20 feet tall, only the bottom 6 feet is usable. If this doesn't have at least like a 3/8 or ½ inch or more of the black around, I don't even mess with it. Sometimes you'll have a big thick layer all around, and over here about 1 inch will go down to like an 1/8 inch. But don't even bother with that unless you're gonna cut chunks out and make some smaller pieces. You can cut it up. But to dry it, if I'm doing like a box or a hollow vessel of some kind, I get the log and I try and just leave it long till I'm going to get to it. It will spalt and turn a little gray, so you don't have that bright, light tannish color. But you can put wood bleach on there and that'll take care of that. But when I started doing this, I got some wet trees and I turned them down into a hollow tube, and I put hose clamps, the dryer clamps on them. Like I would put 2 or 3 on. Some of these I made like that tall, and tighten them once a day or twice a day for a week, and once a day for 4 weeks. And then it's dry and stable. You don't do that if you get a fresh wet piece, it's gonna crack on you and go crazy. This is a very reactionary wood. It's a nightmare to work on. These dark fibers are almost pure silica. And what's that? Sand, glass. Are good tools. You got 30 to 45 seconds of tool edge. As it's shot, it's dead, gone. Like I did this demo in Palm Beach last month, and I went to 5 bowl gouges, and I only made 2 pieces. So it just, you'll start turning. And let's say I'm cutting right here. You got 45 seconds. Roll the tool. Cut here a while. 45 seconds. Dead. Roll it. Cut here. Use up the whole edge and go sharpen. Because it kills your tools. It just takes the edge right off of them. These fibers, they come out, they pop out, they stick in you like needles. You don't get any kind of shaving. You get just crumbly stuff with these short black needle-like pieces. They stick in you. It cracks, it splits, it explodes, but it's stunning looking if you get a successful piece. I've made.
So you're doing a great job of selling, not buying.
I'm just letting you know this is awful stuff to work on. If you only have tool steels, you've got about 5 seconds of tool edge. You're touching dead. But your good sorbies, maybe 45 seconds on that part of the blade you're cutting.
The tools that are harder.
Well, carbides are scrapers, so yeah, they will last longer. You might get 2 minutes out of them. So it's just awful stuff to work on, but there's things that I've learned over the last, I've been turning this stuff for over 22 years. And there's things I've learned to make it easier. If you stabilize it, like in that cactus juice stabilizing fluid, it's much nicer to work on. But yeah, but it still does your tools fast because the dark fibers.
Do the harder steels last longer?
Yeah. Yeah, the more exotic steels like the little cutters on my boring bars, I use the 10% cobalt ones, and those stay sharp a lot longer than the regular ones. But next time I order some, I'm going to order carbide 3/16 inch. Those will stay sharp even longer. I'll pass around some samples of this. And this piece and this piece and this piece I did up at the Palm Beach. I just showed rolling a bead. You can get different kinds of patterns depending if you just do it straight, or you do a little curve on it, or if you mount it little cocked off center, you get some really neat movements in the pattern. Like my shoe spoon here, you can see this is pretty straight, and you just got straight, and then this little curve here, you got these short varying lines, and then on the beads, it's a whole different pattern too. And that's my personal one. I left flaws on it, so I wouldn't take it to a show, because every one of those I take into a show sells like within the first hour. So I'm keeping it. I don't have any more of that. I keep going by the parking lot with a bunch of those trees, waiting to see one dead. That's how I got that.
I'm sure you could do something to make it happen.
I was gonna say,
Nah, there's too many trees around to do that.
How big was that when you started it?
Well, the tree, the base of the tree was about like that, and then that was probably 10 inches. And the black came in quite a bit.
Okay.
And I made a couple hollow vessels out of it, and some lidded things, but I wanted to do some shoe spoons, long ones, so I cut up one section in big long things. And you know, instead of destroying the bandsaw, I figured out if you just take an axe and go wham and hit it right on the edge, it just splits right open, and hit it there and hit it there, and then you could trim it down as necessary.
the bolt that I did, that John gave me,
Yeah.
that bolt was about, I don't know, 14 inches,
Yeah.
but it was black all the way through. The whole entire thing was black.
Well, it does fall, so this will get dark, but maybe that was a piece of black palm, because it
He
is a
told me what
lot.
it was, but I don't remember what kind it was.
Okay,
But it
and
was a black, those black lines all the way through the whole thing.
yeah, and the black palm is quite dark inside, but there's over 100 different palm trees in Florida, and I know I've not seen them all. So, palm is one of the few trees which is pretty much round. Most of the other ones are all weird shapes, and like this, I cut these off of a piece about that long. This end is kind of oval, and this could get cut up. I would not try and do a round piece like this out of that one, because one side of it's going to have so few of the fibers, it's going to crack and curl in on itself if it's wet. This one is round, and I'll turn this one tonight just to show how we can adjust the patterns on it. So this has a crack here, and it's a tiny crack there. You have to really look at it, because usually that crack was a lot farther than you think. This stuff likes to explode on you and come apart. So if we're doing a little piece like this, since this is odd, I would cut this up, make some long ones for hair picks and finials and things, and the pen blanks. These make great looking pens. Like this piece would come off like from right here. So I cut up a whole bunch. I've got a couple tubs just full of blanks like this. Those little layered stacked bowls I did, I put a slice of this in there, and it looked really nice. Now look close at this piece, how nice and cool the fibers are. This one was a lot darker and the fibers were closer together. The blue lanterne is not as nice. It's the worst one. The fibers are thinner and it's a lot more fibery. So if somebody wants palm, like Tim Carter, I gave him a bunch of that. He's been casting them in resin. But this one, instead of it being absolutely straight, I cocked it off sideways just a few degrees. And if you look close, you can see the different angles and patterns that will make. And this piece, I'm going to put this with the finished ones. You can see the difference in these two. This may have come from the exact same tree. This one's a lot lighter on top and that one's darker. If you look at the sides, you can see the patterns. And this one I just cut it up a little closer to the bark. I just cut down enough to get where there was a nice section of lines and stop there. This one, for some reason, went a little further, but these are nice.
What are those?
They're just a little hollow vessel. I make these, I put a little finial on it, and I've sold many of these for $100. Yeah, I just drill a little hole, take my little Allen hollowing wrench, I go in and hollow them out. At the AAW Symposium in 2014, where I demonstrated, I had one exactly like this, little skinny ebony finial, really skinny, and I put it in the auction and sold for $375. So this is a box blank, and that's another one where there's a bottom in it of live oak. And that's Cindy's box, and if you'll notice, Cindy's ex-husband bought this for her about 8 years ago at a show. That's where her and I met. And he's spent $200 on this, and I just noticed a few months ago there's a crack in here now. So just sitting there, it cracked on its own. Very temperamental stuff. Now, Mitch Wallach, who used to turn a lot of this, he was in the club years and years ago. He's passed away since. And he said, you gotta make it hollow, make a base piece, glue it on there, hollow it out, set it on the shelf. He said, it'll crack in 6 spots, and then you fill them with black epoxy, and nobody will ever notice it. So, I made some hollow tubes and let them dry, and then glued them on a base, and then put finish on it. And 5 out of the 6 of them, this expanded and popped off the base. One did not. So I figured out I need to make my hollow tube, get it done, sand it, let it dry, and then put 2 coats of finish on it, and then put it on the base, and not one has ever popped on when I put more finish on. So as you put finish on, it absorbs it so much and it expands at a greater rate than a lot of other woods. So that's just something I found. We'll pass this round, but don't break it. This is a side grain bowl out of the Alexander palm, and this came from like right there. So it's got some of the bark left on there. There's a little hollow vessel I made at the Palm Beach meeting with those other pieces. The bottom's not cut off yet. And that could be a cabinet knob. Real gorgeous. They make great finials, like the top of this. This is a Carpinteria, like on that shoe spoon. A lot of times I'll roll 2 or 3 beads down them. Gives it a lot more interesting look.
You can't do this with bamboo, by the way.
No.
He's got big, huge bamboo. You'd think you could turn it, but you can't.
Yeah, there's one style of bamboo where the walls are like 1 inch thick, and you can do a little bit, but it's... And some things are worth pursuing if you want to go through the trouble of it, and some things aren't. Yeah, see, this is a piece off of that one royal palm I got in front of the Galleria Mall, and where the fibers went in like 3.5 inches. I've got a few more small pieces of this left, because that was 20 years ago. And every other one I've seen, it was only like 3/4 inches in the white. And I'll make something out of that, little hollow vessel or something. And see, that's just a little cut up piece. This can be made into a pen blank, side grain. Interesting thing, that if we take a piece and do our pen blank and have it straight, you'll just have the straight lines down it, but you kick it off maybe 5 degrees, like that one piece. But when you do that, your failure rate goes way up to like 60%. Right, Bill?
Yes.
If you do it straight, your failure rate might be 20%. But you just do it a little bit so those grain, those fibers are off. And it'd probably be better if you stabilize it. And, but it's just awful stuff to work on.
I get it close and then 80 grit for 10 minutes.
Yeah. And sometimes you can't do that because the dark is so much harder than the other. Then you'll get waves in it. Now, I've made some pens and some other things where I finished turning the piece, put it in bleach, just regular old Publix brand bleach, and the tan area is turned pretty white. And then I dyed them orange, and it looked like a tiger. I was calling it tiger palm. And it just looks really cool.
Lee, can you stabilize with CA?
Yeah, I've done that before. I put a whole lot on there, and it just
So
turned it an ugly color. Sometimes I'll do several light coats instead of one heavy coat where it really soaks down through it. The stabilizing fluid doesn't change the color of it that much, the cactus juice.
Cactus juice.
Yeah, if we take and this is just an orange marker, but you can dye other colors, orange or yellow, then it looks like bumblebee. Those are the coolest, but blues and greens, I don't recommend doing that. Just not very nice. I want this piece back later if we're going to turn that. Okay. And remember, this likes to explode and come apart, pop fibers out. Now when I'm doing pieces like this, I've got a whole lot of chucks. So, and I've got this great big chuck, and I just stick it in there and I grab it with the chuck. Automatic centered. And this end I may have to tweak left and right depending on how thick the fibers are and what I'm doing with it. Because if I want to intentionally get it off at an angle, it's only like 4 degrees off, and it changes the pattern. You gotta have a good piece. See, like this one is way off to one side. And I do not use the great big cone centers on this because that center is so soft that it'll just keep going in and going in. I like the Stebbs one to start this out if I'm doing it between centers because you got all those little tiny teeth, prevents it from going in. This is the one with that great big ring on it and the point, which is my least favorite live center of all. But for this, it works really good. Now another thing is, you can see right here, the palms, some of them are totally smooth, but the Alexander, you got a section, then you got this ridge and a section in the ridge. And that one piece, oh this one, this is a pencil holder, it's been on my desk for a long time. You can see right here, you got all the straight, and you got all these weird little dots, and right here. That was, one of these ridges did that. So if you know that has that, you can do things. Now if you look at the inside, I was getting into some of the soft, there's a lot of torn spots in the darker areas, or I mean the lighter color areas.
This section is that step right here.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
from this ridge here. And if you keep cutting down deeper, that disappears and changes. But if you get it just right and stop, that it's like that one board the one piece went around, there was some, no, we didn't pass that around. There were some interesting things on that. This is either royal or queen palm. Now this has smooth bark, but just look at all the little different weird dots and things. Beautiful, beautiful stuff.
But don't do it.
Well, yeah, do it, but I just wanted to make you aware that this is the kind of stuff that happens with it. And you do not get any chips at all. This is just little crumbly stuff with little short black needles that come off of here. You need to tighten the tailstock a lot. This is the stuff that comes off of here. It's just, you can hear it. It's just. Okay, let's stop right there. Yeah, this one is kind of dark. There's kind of a little variation right here where that ridge
Leave
was.
with your face shield.
Oh,
That's covering the bulky camera.
that happened up in Palm Beach last month.
Imagine that.
Consistency is good.
Yeah, so. Yeah, and see, we pretty much got straight fibers right here. Some of the fibers end, and then some other fibers come this way. There's kind of endings right there instead of really long ones. But if you can get the root ball off one of these, get that sucker. Like, we got 2 of these trees we're going to cut down in our yard, and the one's like 24 feet tall. So I'm going to cut it down to about 6 or 8 feet, cut around it with the Sawzall, tie a chain on it, and pull it over with the car. That way I'll have the root ball, because those long, thick fibers that come out, where they attach, if you cut a piece and just get down into those, it has these little oblong circles with this little pattern in it. And Tom Ilowicki used to be in the club, he called those monkey faces. It looks like little faces all over it. And if you cut another 1/4 inch, the circles are still there, but the faces are pretty much gone. But it's really, really neat. How much time we got left, boss?
Oh, you're good. Let me see. You got 25 minutes.
Awesome.
What do you use, a spindle gouge?
This is a spindle roughing gouge. It doesn't have the big wing sides, but now usually I just rough it out till it's true, and I get a tenon on it as fast as I possibly can, because these centers do not hold in there well in that center section. I mean, I'm surprised these are this solid, because when I got some fresher ones, 2 weeks later, I took a brand new pencil and just went zoop, the whole pencil down in the center. Out here, this is like ceramic almost. You can hear it, it's just. So now I want to do a little bit of an angle. And maybe we'll hollow this one out a little. We're on the overhead.
In the hard stuff?
Yeah, Yeah, I try and keep a little bit of the darker fibers in there, unless that center section is really strong. If you don't have as much of the dark fibers, you'll need to glue that tenon to stabilize it.
But ideally, you would just hold the outside of the piece, right?
What?
Ideally, you would just grab the outside of the piece.
Yeah, when I start, I usually just put it in one of my chucks that grabs the outside, and I put the center and tweak it till it's true, or however I want it mounted, and then go from there.
Lee, would a good glue block work on that?
Yeah, but you'd really have to stabilize this so it glued. Faceplate now. Oh, we got the Nova chuck.
Your favorite.
Backwards from everything else on the planet. I guess they started making them so they're like everything else.
They actually sell a kit now, you can change the inside gear.
Just gonna make the tenon a little bit smaller.
Make it a 9 instead of a 10.
If there was enough room.
So after you cut it down, how long do you have to let it dry for?
Well, this is dry.
No, that I know, but
Well, usually you can turn it right away. If you're doing one of these boxes, you got a hose clamp it twice a day for a week, tighten it.
okay.
At the end of the day, that clamp will come right off because it shrinks so much.
But if you want to wait till it's dry, how long will it be, let's say?
5, 6 weeks, 3 months. I've got some I've had for 5 years. It's just solid and stable. It didn't darken too much, which was nice.
You put one band down there or a couple?
If I had one this tall, it'd be minimum 2 hose clamps, one here, one here. And that's after I turned it into a hollow tube. We have Mr. Novichok, which has that, the inside is flat and there's like one tooth up here on the rim. So I just cut a little notch that tooth can grab. In their directions, they say don't cut a notch, but I found it holds so much better. Especially if you got a harder lid, you don't cut a notch for that tooth up here. That'll grab and the rest of it won't be touching very often, or very much. Close this way. And the tenon is soft, we're in that, so you can keep going and really crush it. So. Just want to round this out and do a couple other things to it. True up the top first. And I've made a lot of hollow vessels like this. If I get the piece of the 20-foot tree that's like right down here, it's really solid and the dots go in a bit further. And I would do just a little hollow vessel with a hole in the top like that, where you get the dots coming up to it. And gotta turn it even wall thickness, otherwise it's gonna crack. Like them couple little pieces that were in that tub that were cracked all up, that was just like 3 weeks ago. I knew it would do that, but I just wanted to get the edge down. Now, if I wanted to do some beads on here, we take our spindle gouge. I like to raise the tool rest up for that. And a lot of times these little fibers will pull out, especially if you're doing a side grain piece like this. Because you can see the fibers go right along there. And a lot of times these long fibers, as it's coming around, go bang, and a whole fiber pops out. So you can either find one, usually when you're roughing, there's some long ones coming out. Or what I do is really easy, you just take a marker and you blacken the bottom of that little trough and then fill it full of CA glue. You cannot tell what that was. And sometimes there may be some lines missing. So you can take a marker, a good permanent archival ink one, not Sharpies, because they bleed out. And just blacken the bottom of that, fill it with CA glue, or draw extra lines on here and just kind of blend them in. Just make it look a little neater. So a lot of times on the side grain, it's turning this way, and right here you'll catch the fiber and pop it out, and right there. So I'll get it close to where I want, CA glue that spot and this spot, do 2 passes, CA glue those again, do 2 passes, keep doing that till I get it down. That way we're not going to lose a fiber or chip out, especially just right there and right there. The only real problem. Let me pass this one around through, look at it. Yeah, I still got a file drawer that's half full of those blanks. I got a few that big. It's just a hollow tube.
What do you finish this with?
What's that?
What's the finish on this?
Spray lacquer.
Looks real nice.
So this is a couple beads. If I just go ahead and round over the end, well, you saw some of the pieces going around. But now if I take and, well, those are the beads. We're not going to mess with those. I want to loosen this, angle it over a little bit. You know, I didn't angle it that much. We're just going to cut this portion straight so you can see on 2 sides there will be this angle, kind of almost a herringbone pattern, and the other 2, they're just angled lines. Just going to go back to the spindle roughing gouge. That thing's dead. Let's go for a bowl gouge. So if you get a piece down near the ground with a lot of thickness there, I'm going to change it some, but not the effect I really wanted. But you can see right here, the edge of the line kind of goes up and down. Do I have that long, skinny one? Oh, it's over there. Yeah, so you can look at the beads and look at the tenon, how much fiber was there, and stick your thumbnail in there because it's pretty soft. No, the smaller one. That one.
You have everything except for the one you want.
Well, I was just thinking I should use the tinier one. This will be fun. Doesn't have very big of a quill. If anybody wants some palm, right now on Craigslist, there's a free section. Click on that. Down in Hollywood, they say, palm logs, free, come and get them. There's no picture, so we don't know what they are. Which is, if you've been doing wood turning for a while and people start offering you wood and bringing you wood, they have no clue what we really are looking for, and they'll bring you stuff. This one lady says, oh, I got a branch, it came off my tree, I want to bring you, what kind of wood is that? Lignum vitae. Yeah, I want it. So she brought me a branch that was about that big around, about this long. Had no heartwood in it. And I made some really cool looking yellow pens out of it. But I used it all up. Okay, now, I forgot to tell you, if you're going and hollowing, after you got the outside done, you take and you put tape around it before you hollow, or a clamp or something, because you get down, this stuff loves to explode. And you don't tape it this way, you tape it in that direction. Because when you're doing this overlaps that. Your lathe is turning this way. If you do it this way, that edge is going to be there, and you touch anything on it, or just the chips hitting it can cause it to come right unwrapped. If you do it this way, when you turn it on, it only makes it tighter. So I would wrap like 3 or 4 layers around in one spot up near the edge when I'm hollowing this out, every single time. If I'm doing a hollow vessel with a small lid, when the outside's done, tape it up and then go in and do the hollowing. It's has much nicer results. If you're using a hose clamp, make sure that clamp is turned the one way because it catches your knuckle. You only bleed a little instead of a lot. And you gotta have some kind of shoe covers or something because these fibers get down in there and they just.
Okay, just wear a flute flow.
What's that?
Just wear a flute flow.
Oh, good idea. Yeah, I didn't pass around Here's one of the line drawings. These are hair picks that I made for Cindy, put her hair up. This is one I bleached and dyed orange. You can see the lines go like that. These are some that she got somewhere. It might be red foam, but they come out pretty cool. And I just like the little parts, like sometimes you'll have dots, and if you look at the dots, they're not round either. Some of them look like little arrowheads. Hey Stuart, how are we doing on time?
I'm looking right now. You got 15 minutes.
See, this has some really nice light color in there. But the way I was cutting it, there's the lighter areas, there's a bunch of torn grain. So you may have to do something different to get that to cut straight. A couple light layers of glue, just whatever you have to do to get it going. I like to put a tenon on it instead of trying to just go between centers. Just takes out some of the vibrations and everything is held steady. And I'm changing up. I'm using different parts of this edge. If I'm cutting some on the point, I'm changing up, working this area, working down here. There's sharp tools, work better. Have a look at it. Yeah, those lighter areas are there's torn grain, so they're a bunch softer. This side not so much, but right there it is. So in this case, I would take the thin, runny CA glue. Thank you, sir. You won the prize. You get to take that one.
All right. I feel like we
So I'll just go to the worst spot and saturate that with CA glue.
I haven't tested it, but I heard that when you put CA glue on, if you take paper towel and wipe it, that that'll set it off.
Oh, yeah, it goes through that in like 2 seconds. With your fingers on there.
No, I mean, it'll activate the CA glue
No.
just like the spray.
Oh, just doing that?
Yeah,
No, I've not heard that.
I've heard that, I've tried it, it didn't work for me.
no,
You were doing it wrong.
Probably.
which way were you running, left to right?
Top to bottom.
Oh, that's fine.
Well, your lathe has to be east to west, and
It is actually.
you're facing north.
And move it on almost done.
Okay, now I could come back and do a couple light coats over that. I like to stand aside, and I've been gluing it. I see any speckles come off of there. I know it's not ready yet. Now I got my cutting edge about 45 degrees and I'm cutting way down here. I don't know if you can see that on your thing. It's a shear cut, absolutely on the bevel. Trying not to cut too deeply.
Lee, why are you using a ball gouge, not a spindle gouge?
It's still,
No,
Well, the spindle gouge isn't dull, but this is heavier and this long edge, I can present it better to come across there, just like a skew.
Okay.
You could use a skew to do this too. Okay, now those torn areas over here, see, there's still torn grain up here. On this side there's not because the light areas are much more solid. And here was getting in towards the center of the tree because when you get into that it's just not nice. So that's cutting pretty cleanly. And what I wanted to do was make this and orange it with the marker, but since I put glue on it, that's not going to work. I could have oranged it and then did this, and there would have been some weird stuff going on. And you do not cut uphill or against the grain. It's just fibers will pop out. See, that was against the grain, and you can see these pieces coming off here. So this is one type of wood, if you want to call it that. And trying to do it side grain is even worse. Like a total side grain pen, oh, it's a nightmare.
you make nice chopsticks.
I'm not sure how to hold up. Very funky, not sure.
Here's what I know.
Okay, see up here where I cut, there's torn grain, and this side there's not, but over here where I glued, there's no torn grain at all. So
So basically got to glue up the whole piece, right?
you gotta mess with it however it needs to be messed with.
Yeah. I'm talking about this particular piece.
Yeah, this one, yeah, you'd have to do the whole thing. And sanding, we go ahead and sand this way, but when I'm done with that, I always go with the grain. Whether I'm working on a side grain piece or an end grain. Because you can really see the lines in the black areas. So we can pass this around just so you can look at it and notice right here, that big yellow area, there's torn stuff, and down here where I glued, there's not.
Good to me, first, I get left out.
Well, sorry. You feel left out today?
Well, you know everything anyway. See now, I have this blank which could be made into a bottle stopper. This is the burgundy fibers. So this is either queen or royal palm. So I could take it and drill it out and do a bottle stopper, make some different shapes on the side for more pattern, and you'll have the polka dots on the top. Or I could do a side grain piece, or even a little side grain hollow vessel of some kind, but you have the long streaks on the top. So we'll pass this piece around. You can look at the top and the lines. You can see the dots are smaller and closer together, and they come across here. On the top side and the bottom, the side that there's just straight lines and a few weird angled ones, but they're spaced more widely apart. And then on this side, you got those weird dots that are added to it too. So this could be a bottle stopper.
You feel left out.
Me first.
Okay. He's the guy selling the tickets.
He's number one.
And there's lots more you can do with it. It's just getting a piece that's good. And I've got 2 pieces of root ball that are still, they're dry now, and they're still good. I'm going to make a couple nice pieces that Cindy wants to do one. I'm going to do the other one. It was back in 2003, the AAW symposium was in Orlando. And I made one out of a root ball. It was about this tall. The base was that big around, and it just had a very slight curve up. The top was about that big, with the polka dots all. I had a hole in the top, just slightly smaller than a quarter. And down the side, since I tapered it, was short, jagged lines. It was really cool. And there was 1,500 pieces there, and they only put 73 on their website, and that was one of those pieces. And I sold that piece for $900. It was cool. But I want to do some more like that. But if you turn it and it's got moisture to it, make sure that wall consistency is thin. Put it in a paper bag. I'll take even a vacuum and I'll keep putting it on there and sucking the moist air out of the inside. I've wrapped the outside with saran wrap, but then you got to contend with the mildew that's going to discolor it. But yeah, sometimes I'll just keep, as I'm working, I'll just keep opening the bag and sucking the air out of the inside of the piece. So the inside dries evenly with the out, and there's much less chance of it splitting. Just because they will cause problems. Now, I've never turned, but I've turned one piece of cabbage palm or sable palm. What kind of issues have you had with that?
Just that I turned bigger pieces.
Yeah.
And some bottle stoppers with what I had left over. And I turned the base of a coconut palm tree that came down into my backyard.
Yeah.
And I got sable palm, the bottom of the trees, I got a bunch of those. And
You
the
pretty
worst
much
part
just,
about it, this big around.
yeah. Did you ever, you left a bark on the center section of the hollow?
I didn't do that, no.
Okay.
I don't like that. I don't like what that looks like. But anyway, it looks nice, but I just don't care for it. The
Yeah.
worst part about it is the fibers can be this long.
Yeah.
And when they come out, they'll stick in your arm.
Yeah, they're sticking in
a
just like
porcupine
needles.
quill, like a porcupine quill.
Yeah. They
And
do.
then you say to yourself, now I've never turned small pieces, but because I don't know how you feel after you turn a few of these. But when I turn big pieces, I say to myself, why in the hell did I do this? Because they're pretty.
Yeah, they're beautiful.
You can't get the inside. If it's a hollow form, you're never going to get the inside smooth.
Yeah, you
But
never.
you say to yourself, for all the aggravation, what am I doing this? You know, really. I never turned a side grain piece. Ron Purcell turned a side grain, almost like a natural edge piece, a big
Yeah.
piece. It was pretty, but it just almost was too dark. It was
Yeah.
way too dark.
Yeah. Mm.
Yeah.
It's just some of the issues that
You
you
can
have
bleach
with
them.
it.
You can bleach them too. A lot of people bleach
Yeah.
them. John Mescal bleaches all of them when he does it.
Yeah, instead of like the public bleach like I use, there's a 2-part wood bleach, which is a whole lot stronger.
But he just uses the I've used the two-part bleach, it works good, but it's expensive. Go to Home Depot and get Harris's 30% vinegar, which is 6 times stronger than regular vinegar,
Oh, yeah?
and that'll just turn white.
Oh, I've never heard of that stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then you can dye it and do other weird stuff and experiment.
You could use pool chlorine too, that'll do it.
Yeah, that's strong stuff.
It's real strong.
I would dilute it slightly.
You say that bowl,
But chemicals have a downside. I just want you to know,
Yeah.
I have got experience with that right now.
Yeah, they do. Because then it dries in the wood and then you're sanding it and that's something else we gotta worry about respiratory wise.
Right.
And that guy who I mentioned earlier out of the AAW magazine, he just did these big cone pieces and I think it was probably sable palm. And I don't know if he sprayed them with water and then the tops of all the little fibers just all popped out all over the whole piece. It looked really cool. And he dyed them green and red and orange and all different colors. So. All right, any more?
I know why that, when I said that bowl went all the way through with the fibers, because it's a bowl.
Yeah.
You got the bottom and everything, it's all.
Was it side grain or end grain where there's
No,
polka
it
dots?
was, an end grain,
So it's polka dots all the way over.
yeah, all the way through though, the whole.
Okay. That had to be
I'll bring it
right
next
at the
meeting.
ground level or the root ball.
Yeah, I'll bring it next meeting.
Yeah, please do.
Okay.
Any more questions? Yeah, and as far as finish, I use spray lacquer. It's a spray gun hooked to the compressor. Real easy, you never have to clean the gun. It's nice. Just spray it, put it down, 2 months later, pick it up. It's weird. I always thought you had to clean it every time, but you don't.
I would have thought so too.
Now, other finishes, I don't know, but spray lacquer just... Okay.
How many coats you got on that piece?
That's probably only 3 coats. Because when I'm doing this, before I make that base that's gonna go on, I did 2 coats every time.
Just to seal the,
Yeah, just to seal this, that way you glue it on and you coat everything together. It doesn't expand and
Doesn't
pop
move
off the
anymore.
page. Okay.